Tonight, a pandemic far from over.
We haven't even begun to see the end of it yet.
From a fresh round of shutdowns to new school closures, the latest on the virus's effect on America. Plus, President Trump cleared his prison sentence.
Roger Stone was treated very unfairly, in my opinion. I'm getting rave reviews for what I did for Roger Stone.
An exclusive with Roger Stone. And after speaking out against China's human rights violations, Republican lawmakers become the target of retaliatory sanctions from the Chinese government. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Hospital beds filling up as coronavirus cases surge across the country. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, more than 30 states are fighting a spike in COVID hospitalizations. It also comes as many areas see people testing positive at record-setting rates on a near daily basis. Florida is one state seeing a huge influx of confirmed cases. The state health department announced 132 new deaths in a 24-hour period, the most deadly day there since the pandemic began. 32 of those deaths taking place in Miami.
Miami is now the epicenter of the pandemic. What we were seeing in Wuhan 6 months ago, 5 months ago, now we are there.
2,000 patients in Miami are currently hospitalized with COVID-19, maxing out ICUs across the country. Meanwhile, other states continue their fights to stop the disease from spreading, more than 20 rolling back plans to reopen sections of their economies. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a second shutdown among sectors across the Golden State, closing down indoor activities at houses of worship, gyms, salons, shopping centers, and non-essential businesses in 29 counties. Well, two-term Congressman Ro Khanna represents California in the 17th District at the House of Representatives and joins us now. Congressman Khanna, thank you for being with us. Congressman, your state is among those seeing a big rise in cases. Do you agree with Governor Newsom's call to shut down businesses, and do you worry that it could hurt the already struggling economy?
I believe that we need to prioritize safety, and if we can first get things under control, even if that takes a week or 2 weeks, then it will allow us to have a safer start for businesses, especially if we all wear masks. So what happened is that people were going on beaches, they were going to bars, they weren't wearing masks. We have to get that under control, and then we can restart the economy.
Congressman, across the country, schools and universities are weighing whether to reopen this fall, something the Trump administration is pushing for. What's your take? Should kids return to the classroom in August or September?
I think it has to be case by case. I hope people are able to return and able to return safely, but we have to look at different places should be done differently. I mean, in LA, where there is a huge issue, there it probably doesn't make sense. In other parts of the country, which may be more rural, which may not have the same density or positivity of cases, it makes sense. So I don't think there's a one-size solution for everything. We have to let localities make that decision.
Today, the Trump administration announced it will rescind an order that would have blocked international students from living in the United States if they were only taking online classes. I imagine you agree with that move, but what do you think caused the about face?
I appreciate it. It's a simple thing. If students are here, we want them creating jobs here. We want them, if they benefited from American education, the last thing that makes sense is to kick them out. Sometimes they're almost getting their degree. And then what's going to happen? They're going to go back to their country of origin and create the jobs there. I'd rather they create the jobs in the United States. And the second thing is education is one of our biggest exports to the world. These students are paying full tuition, and that's allowing, frankly, universities to expand and provide less tuition for American students. So I think the economics of it is what caused the decision, and I appreciate that the Trump administration looked at those facts and changed course.
Congressman, today, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told CNN she'd be willing to forego your August recess to reach a deal with another COVID relief package. Do you think that needs to happen, especially with employment benefits set to expire at the end of this month?
I do, and I don't understand what we're doing thinking of having a recess. We are under crisis in this country. We have a health crisis. We have an economic crisis. Congress should be working. I think we have to be canceling that August recess. It's ridiculous from my perspective to have 5 weeks off or doing things in the district, especially because we can't do anything in most of our districts because there aren't public gatherings. So I think Congress needs to be working, and we need to be doing every day what we can to deal with the health crisis and deal with the economic crisis.
And finally, Congressman, if you can, what are you hearing from your constituents about the biggest hurdles in an economic recovery, and what does Washington need to do to help?
Well, the first thing is the fear of coronavirus. And it's not just what the governors say or what the mayors say. The reality is until people feel safe personally, they're not going to listen to what a congressman says, or frankly, even what the president of the United States says. They have to personally feel safe. And so the first thing that we ought to do, I think, is have everyone wear masks, have everyone take the basic precautions so we can get the economy up and running. And then the second thing I'm hearing from small business owners, and they're concerned. They're concerned that businesses they built for 20 years may go under. We need to extend the PPP program, really target it to small businesses, and we've got to help people transition in these next few months to make sure their expenses are covered while they're returning to work. So I hope all of those things can be part of a bipartisan relief package.
All right, California Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for always having me on.
All right. Well, while President Trump says he's received rave reviews on how he granted ally Roger Stone clemency, he's also been criticized from both sides of the aisle. One person who, as you can imagine, is more than pleased with the move is Stone himself. Today, he talked exclusively with CBN's David Brody, who joins us now with more. David, what was Stone's mood like when you talked with him, and what did he have to say about the situation?
Well, he was jubilant, as you might imagine, and relieved for sure. A different Roger Stone than when I spoke to him about a month and a half or so ago, when he wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. But now, obviously, he feels relieved. Let's do a quick backstory here. He gave his life to Jesus Christ about 5 months ago in January of this year at a Franklin Graham rally. 2,000 people packed in Florida at an outdoor rally before coronavirus. And about 500 or so people said the sinner's prayer, did an altar call. Franklin Graham was there. And the rest is spiritual history. Roger Stone giving his life to Jesus. And that's part of our conversation and what we talked about today. And he says that he's a different Roger Stone now, that yes, before there was a lot of bravado and showmanship. There might be a lot of that still. But the difference is he's not going to be so cutthroat in the future. This is what he said about the word revenge.
Here's the big difference, David.
Yeah.
In the old days, I would have wanted revenge. I would have wanted to take revenge against every one of them. But now I realize that vengeance is God's. It's not mine. In other words, they will get their just due. They will get it from a vengeful God. The vengeance, according to Hebrews, I think it's 30:31, belongs to God. He knows who the bad guys are. I don't have to worry about it anymore because it's in his hands. There is nothing worse than being, in the eyesight of a vengeful and living God. So I no longer am obsessed with, the Sicilian concept of revenge, which generally speaking is a dish that tastes best when eaten cold.
Typical Roger Stone. Look, he feels vindicated. He says there was tons of prosecutorial abuses against him. He calls it the deep state, all of that. He went even further in our interview, actually calling his opponents satanic. Have a listen.
Those who are trying to undo this president, those who are trying to destroy me, trying to destroy Michael Flynn, who's a very good man and a great American patriot, war hero, I do believe they're satanic. I do believe they don't believe. I think they believe in the New World Order. I don't know if they worship Moloch or they worship no one or they worship Satan, but they don't share our values. That's clear to me. And they cut corners. And what's outrageous is their arrogance, their moral superiority, when in fact they have no morals at all.
Just to be clear, you said satanic. Who are you referring to specifically? I'm sorry.
I don't believe the Clintons are really Christians. I don't believe that any of these people involved in my prosecution are really believers in God, whether they be Christians or whether they be Jews. I think that they are truly evil. And they make fun of our religion. They look down on it. They look down on these elites. They look down on our belief in Jesus Christ. They look down on our values. To them, we're a bunch of, I don't know, we're like toothless hillbillies. They try to treat us like we're sometimes they're inferiors. But this is an epic struggle between good and evil. This is an epic struggle between the dark and the light. I really believe that.
John, we reached out to a spokesman for the Office of the Special Counsel. Remember, that office is no longer valid. It's done. So they're the former Office of the Special Counsel, but a spokesman there said, we will decline comment regarding the satanic charges by Roger Stone. John?
So, David, the big question, I guess, is what's next for Roger Stone? Did he talk about that?
Well, I asked him specifically, would you go work for Trump? He says, look, I'd be a fool to pass the opportunity by. He doesn't think that's going to happen, though. He thinks his job is best from the outside. We may see him at rallies. Then again, are we even going to see rallies anytime in the future? So we'll see about Roger Stone. I did ask him about social media. He's been kicked off of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. He says he's looking at his legal possibilities about getting back there. But for now, boy, I tell you what, he's all in with God. I got to tell you, in our 30-minute interview, we must have talked about 22 minutes or so. Somehow God referenced verses all along the way.
CBN's David Brody, thank you so much for that revealing interview.
You bet.
Well, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions is in the political fight of his life, aiming to regain his old Alabama seat in the United States Senate. Sessions faces former Auburn University football coach Tommy Tuberville in a runoff to complete the state's Republican primary from back in March. If he wins, Sessions will take on Democratic Senator Doug Jones for the seat he had held for 4 terms before becoming President Trump's first Attorney General. The president and Sessions have had a contentious relationship stemming back to the former AG recusing himself from the Russia investigation. President Trump is backing Tuberville in today's primary. Coming up, tensions with China. How Beijing is taking steps to retaliate against American sanctions.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
China is striking back against some American lawmakers as tensions between the two countries continue to boil over. The Chinese government says it will ban entry for several members of Congress, including Senators Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith, and Ambassador for Religious Freedom Sam Brownback. The move comes after their public criticism of the policies of the ruling Communist Party toward minority groups and people of faith. Well, here to discuss China's ongoing persecution is Nuri Turkel. As a Uyghur Muslim, he's experienced Chinese brutality firsthand, and he now serves on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Commissioner, it's great to have you. You estimate 3 million Uyghurs are currently being held against their will, and new reports indicate China is working to slash their birth rates. Can you tell us more about that?
The Chinese government has been attacking Uyghur identity, Uyghur existence on multiple fronts for at least 6 decades. What we have seen in the most recent reports that we have a solid evidence in litigation, we call it admissible evidence, that the Chinese government has been engaging in and practicing, implementing genocidal policies against the Uyghur people, as shown in Dr. Adrian Zen's most recent report, showing 24% decline in the Uyghur population growth. That is thanks to the Chinese government's repressive, deliberate policies implemented in the region.
Forced sterilizations, does that qualify as genocide?
In the UN Convention on Genocide, one of the key aspects of that convention is that if a government purposefully prevent population growth, that can constitutes or that meets the legal definition of genocide. So when we look at this important subject, we should not forget that China's government's intention should also play in this discussion. We've seen the actions. We also have seen the intentions as revealed in the Chinese government's secretive documents released to public through New York Times and ICIJ last year. One of the specific things being disclosed or revealed in these documents is that the Chinese government has a very specific intention to break the Uyghur family lineage and roots. So we've seen this, more than half million Uyghur kids being separated from their family members and being sent to the state-run orphanages. Uyghur women have been forced to be in a situation to marry Han Chinese individuals who have provided government assistance, financial, housing, and jobs. So there's a wholesale attack on the Uyghur identity, Uyghur existence. And most recently, this also needs to be talked about. The CBP detained a large number of hair apparently produced in the Uyghur labor camps or belongs to the Uyghur woman. So in the sense that the Chinese government is also commercializing Uyghur women's hair and sending to the marketplaces around the world. So it is in the United States' moral interest, economic interest, and in security interest to continue to press the Chinese government on the ongoing human rights abuses that amounts to genocide in a legal sense.
All right, Commissioner Nuri Turkel, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thank you very much for having me.
The latest on the global effort to create a coronavirus vaccine. That and more when we return.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back. A coronavirus vaccine could be in the offing. That according to the Trump administration, which says vaccine production could start by the end of this summer. The Department of Health and Human Services says the goal is to deliver 300 million doses by the start of 2021. In preparation, the government's ramping up the manufacturing process. An HHS official says the department's already bought equipment and secured sites to begin churning out a vaccine once one is approved. Now is Dr. Jen Ashton. She is a physician and ABC News' chief medical correspondent. Dr. Ashton, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that he is still hopeful that the government will come up with a vaccine by the beginning of next year. Where do things stand in terms of finding a vaccine to stop this virus?
Well, first of all, I was actually at Dr. Fauci's vaccine development lab on February 3rd down at the NIH, watching them work on a possible vaccine for this strain of coronavirus. The good news is that there's not just one company really making great progress. There are several. And therefore, there may not just be one option available for people, not just in the United States, but around the world. There could potentially be several. But I think people also need to understand that the safety and efficacy trials that are so integral in vaccine development cannot be rushed. Corners cannot be cut, and they won't be. And so, yes, Dr. Fauci has said cautiously optimistic for the beginning of 2021. But until that data is in, we just won't know.
You know, if you do a quick Google search for COVID-19 treatments today, the first news article that pops up is about bats holding the key. The second is about llamas holding the key to finding therapy. The point being, Dr. Ashton, how can people wade through all the information out there and find out what they truly need to know about this disease?
It's difficult. You know, there's a lot of information. It's coming out day by day. Credibility of sources is really important when you're talking about a global health crisis like this. And I think the bottom line for people is there are certain credible sources, journals that are peer-reviewed, sources in media that are getting their information directly from the top experts in the country and the world. And then there's a lot of information that you wouldn't believe if it were about weather. So people should be very careful where they get their information.
Dr. Ashton, just a few days ago, Gilead Sciences released some new data about the effectiveness of the treatment of remdesivir. How are doctors seeing remdesivir help?
Well, first of all, the published data about this IV antiviral drug has shown that it shortens the duration of symptoms by about 4 to 5 days. That's significant for sure when you're in an intensive care unit setting, because it's not just cost involved, but medical risks with each day that someone remains in an intensive care unit. However, we have to wait for a mortality demonstrated benefit. So does a drug save lives? And right now, there is not conclusive data that remdesivir does that. Right now, it's a good tool in our arsenal, but to be crystal clear, intensivists, infectious disease specialists that I'm in touch with on a regular basis, it's not just about using remdesivir. They're using a lot of other drugs at their disposal, and some of those drugs are facing shortages because of this.
Finally, Dr. Ashton, we only have about a minute left, but if you look at places like New Zealand, a COVID-19 free country now, you see that it's possible to stop the spread. Is that possible here in the United States?
Well, I think it's a complicated answer. It's partially yes and partially no. Number one, behaviorally, yes, it is possible to make a major dent and block the rapid spread of this virus. Is it possible to eradicate it here in the United States? We are not the same country as New Zealand. We are significantly bigger in every way, so we can't extrapolate here apples to apples. But I think people need to remember that behavior has shown very clearly here in the United States to really matter when it comes to transmission. So keeping as much distance apart, wearing a mask, and keeping our hands clean right now is the best we can do, and it's really the only thing we can do.
Adhering to those guidelines. All right, Dr. Jen Ashton, we always appreciate you being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Time is running out. Some last-minute tips to make sure you're good with Uncle Sam ahead of the tax deadline when Faith Nation returns.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, tax day is usually April 15th, but because of the economic uncertainty caused by the pandemic, the Internal Revenue Service pushed back the tax filing deadline. Come midnight Wednesday, your time is up. Tomorrow's deadline is for federal income tax filings, depending on where you live. State rules vary, though many are following the July 15th timetable. If you still need more time, though, it is possible to request an extension, but you do have to file for it. That paperwork also has to be completed by tomorrow. And if you owe money to Uncle Sam and need a little extra help, you can work with the IRS to set up a payment plan. Hopefully some helpful advice. Thanks for watching Faith Nation. We hope to see you again tomorrow.